All right, number 6, coaches will not give misleading information about coaching and its benefits. So, coaching isn't magic. It takes time and effort, and we should never try to overstate coaching as something that just fixes people. It's not. We should not present it as something that gives soothing or healing to anybody. We should not make people think that if you do this, you will accomplish this. We need to be very careful with that because so much of this is not on our shoulders as the coach. The majority of it is on the person being coached. The responsibility falls on the people being coached. And we can't promise results for something that is largely responsible for somebody outside of ourselves. So that's why it's really important that we don't mislead people or overstate the results of that. The truth is that many people benefit from coaching. In fact, I would say that the people that engage themselves in it and pay attention and really put forth the effort with a coach will grow every time. However, people that maybe don't really put forth the effort and just kind of listen and blow it off, they're not going to get the results. So we need to be careful and just put that responsibility back on the person being coached more so. Like you're going to get whatever you put into it. And that's the truth. It's the same way with any book you read, any seminar you might ever go to, any church service you might go to. You're going to get what you put into it. If you pay attention and focus and you take what the information is and apply it to your life and think through how you can make that help you change for the positive going forward, you'll grow. But like every bit of great information, it can bounce off your skull if you choose as well. All coaching agreements are easy to understand with expectations of both the coach and the participant clearly stated. So really what this means is that when there's a relationship between two people, especially when it's a one-on-one coaching, there's responsibility on both sides of this. So we're talking about a lot of the responsibilities today of the coach, the guidelines and the things that we need to do and stay clear of, and the benchmarks we need to try to hit. But there's also things that are expected out of the person being coached too. I mean, if you want to be coached well, you've got to be willing to be open and honest about things, and you can't lie. You can't make up stories. You can't just say what you think the other person wants to hear. You've got to be true and honest about it. And the coach has to behave in a certain way too. And so it's important up front that there's a good understanding of what the roles are for each person. This is particularly with professional coaching, but even in the workplace, sometimes just the opening question of, hey, what would you like to get out of this conversation? Or here's what I would like to try to accomplish with this conversation, and just getting it out in the open so that there's an agreement, so that one person isn't going into it looking for advice on one thing and maybe you're going into it trying to go down an entirely different path, that both are in the same agreement on kind of what they're looking for in general with coaching, but then also more specifically with what you're going to talk about on that day. So, all right, number 8, coaches, particularly paid coaches, will not coach minors under 18 without parents' written permission. I just have to say that. It's something I got to check off the box, basically. So I know many of you are regularly working with kids that are under 18 years old, and in the workplace, I don't think there's no issues there because you're not a paid coach. If you're a paid coach, that's a different thing. But however, though, part of the reason why I put this in there too is I want you guys to be cognitive about that too. When you are sitting down with somebody 17 years old, just know that they have parents. Their parents probably have a lot to say about what goes in the ears of those employees. Doesn't mean you need to sugarcoat everything, but it does mean that just be aware of that and what you're talking about. So that matters. As a parent, I know many of you are parents. As a parent, I always want to filter what my daughter hears. I've had conversations with teachers and principals. I'm expressing just some concerns about things that my daughter might learn in middle school that to me seems a little bit absurd. As a parent, I know I'm careful with that, and other parents are going to be too. So just be careful with what you say to somebody else's kids. Coaches will be willing to recommend other coaches if it is more appropriate for the participant. This is not just with professional coaches. This is even within your industry, within your business and company. I've had times before where I just didn't connect with somebody as well as someone else in our company, and I've handed that responsibility down to other people. There might have been times where I've said, "Hey, Rose, why don't you connect with this person? You have a closer relationship than I do." And so that's happened at times. And sometimes I might be the most appropriate person to maybe work with somebody specific. A lot of it has to do with personalities and just maybe where they've come from, just the relationship that you've built or haven't built to begin with. And so it's important that we recognize when maybe we're not the perfect fit and figure out what the perfect fit is, especially if you've got other people coaching within your company. That can be very helpful, especially when you start getting several options. We've got 4 or 5 people in our company that that's really starting to do some coaching, and so that might come in handy where we might have some times where we say, hey, maybe someone else should take over on this specific person for whatever reason. So the truth is that some personalities just don't mesh well with other people. So one example of that is maybe 8 or 9 years ago, my wife came home from her doctor's appointment and she was really discouraged. And she said, "I think I'm going to get a new doctor." And I said, "Well, why are you going to get a new doctor?" And she says, "I just don't like my doctor. She's just always so negative." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" So I asked some more questions. Well, it turns out really what she is she's pretty straightforward and just says it like it is. And she's maybe not the most sensitive in the way that she communicates to her patients as other people. And so I said, "Okay, well, so who's your doctor?" Because I wanted that doctor. So from that, that next week, I started going to that doctor because that doctor is the kind of doctor I like. Somebody that's no BS, just tell me what's wrong, tell me what I need to do, and get in my face and tell me the truth about the matter. You don't need to sugarcoat anything with me. That's the kind of doctor I like. And I didn't have that before. I had a doctor that was beating around the bush trying to tell me, "Oh, you know what, you there's probably some better things you could do, for your health." And I'm like, just tell me what I need to do. Tell me I'm fat and I'm lazy and I need to work out and I need to eat better. Tell me that. And so for me, having a person that communicates a little differently helped me, and it also helped my wife. She got with a doctor that spoke her language a little bit more. So sometimes it's the same thing with coaches. Hopefully you guys can relate to that a little bit. I'm sure you've had people that in your lives that you relate to better than others. So number 10. Coaches are encouraged to revisit the expectations of coaching and correct any misconceptions about what coaching is and isn't. So earlier on in one of the other ones, I mentioned that we need to make sure that there's an agreement so you understand what the rules are. Sometimes it's necessary to revisit those expectations. Some people may want the coach to be more than they should be. Maybe they want emotional support, or maybe they just want to vent. And that's not really what a coach is for, too. Although there's a lot of listening that goes along with that, and venting is part of it. But or maybe they want the coach to be a punching bag, a place to come and complain about things, or maybe they want attention or affirmation, or they just want a talking buddy. And that's not what coaching is for. Coaching is about getting something done and working towards solutions and helping people grow. It's not about enabling people with maybe some of their personality dysfunctions that they might have. Sometimes we need to confront people and confront them gently about that and help them understand that. So, our job is not to make people feel better, but rather to increase their awareness, encourage, and challenge them. The reason I'm bringing up these examples because these are the ones that are the most common that I've seen. Is sometimes people really want to feel better. Sometimes people really want you to tell them how good they are or how well they're doing, and sometimes that's not where you need to go. So sometimes it's not about just simply giving affirmation. Sometimes it really is about addressing some things. So that's why it's important to correct any misconceptions, and it's better to do that right up front. Don't do it 2 months down the road where you've already been enabling somebody in some way without confronting what you need to confront. So That's important.